Okay, hi guys. So today we're actually going to be talking about a couple different things because of the fact that I did not upload on Wednesday. There's a couple of things to get to. So we actually have the Andrew Tate situation. Now, I got myself into a little controversy because of me going against Andrew Tate and him saying that since we white people, I guess, in his mind, are having a population decline in America, we should just go around and have sex with a bunch of women without being married, without being a girlfriend or a boyfriend. It just did not make any sense what he was actually saying. So he actually just wanted us to go out and just have sex with as many girls as we possibly can to reproduce. And then he also says that if you are hungry or if you are eating, then you are actually gay. And he also says that you are poor if you don't donate to him $50 every single month for Hustle University. So the situation with him is just getting out of hand at this point. We're going to be breaking that down and a lot more on today's episode. So, without further ado, what did Andrew Tate actually say? We're going to be breaking it down because you might as well. So, he says, "Dear white men, you're effed. You're being replaced because none of you have children." Now, I don't think that this is completely true. Obviously, a lot of people have children, so this isn't completely true on his part. Even those of you bitching about the replacement online, the little girls don't find the Rumpton to fuck. So it just doesn't really make a lot of sense here because of the fact that he's saying, oh, a lot of people whining about the replacement and stuff like that aren't even actually doing anything. Well, the thing is that you need time to actually build a family. You need time to actually build up a relationship with one woman, get married to her, then to have children, and then reproduce and then have one kid and then after another one kid and then after another one kid, then you have three kids. It takes time. You can't just go and have sex with a bunch of women and then now you have child support and then you have this and then you have that and then you have debt. That's what he's not paying attention to. So it doesn't really make a lot of sense again. So continuing, I see white men bragging about having 5 kids as if that's an achievement. LOL. 5 LOL per year, right? Oh, all you white boys lost control of your woman, and now they won't accept multiple wives anymore, which nobody ever did. Okay, so if you were talking about a moment that they did quote unquote accept multiple wives, it's going to be way back when. Way back when. So it really wouldn't even make a lot of sense in this aspect at all either, because of the fact that if we are going back to a certain time, there was never this problem that he's actually talking about. So that's the problem with Andrew Tate. Andrew Tate actually talks about situations that actually are true. So yes, the replacement for white people are actually lower than black people, of course, because we're being replaced through illegal immigration and other situations like that. But then the solutions that he has for these very things are wrong. That's the problem with Andrew Tate. And a lot of people don't realize this very thing. It's annoying to me. And then I point this out on Twitter and then I get attacked and then called a bitch and stuff like that. It does not make any sense. Now they tell you they don't want kids anymore. One's enough. They don't want to do their God-given job anymore. They want Instagram likes instead, which is a true thing. So your generic potential is stumped by the whims of some singular female. A female who takes 9 whole months to grow a single baby. Other races have multiple ovens to breathe. We're not cooked. That does not make any sense. So multiple ovens to breathe. So now you're saying what? Cheat on your wife and then just have another girlfriend, quote unquote, and then have sex with her. And then while having sex with her, tomorrow have sex with another woman because population. No. Jerking off to porn when she's asleep or maybe cheating with a side bitch, condom on. Okay, but as if that's not a bad thing. Like he's saying this as if that's not a bad thing. It is a bad thing. Oh no, I couldn't get another woman pregnant or my wife would kill me. Total effing losers. Soon your race will be nothing more than a few pages in a history book. A lesson on what happens when you fuck the female psyche so hard that they are obsessed with money and social media as opposed to being one of many baby factories for a king. Okay, so as if he has any children. Does he ever talk about the children that he has? It doesn't really make a lot of sense here. He always talks about all of this stuff and, oh, you're a bitch and you're this and you're that. How many children does he have? He said 30 children minimum for the Dons. White people, go talk to your best friend's wife about what you should do this weekend. Maybe you can take a nice walk around IKEA. Enjoy extinction. That's what he says. And then this got 26 million impressions. And I mean, a lot of the time, it just doesn't make any sense. Obviously, there's a difference between what he's saying that's true and what he's saying that's perceived to him to be real life. And the solutions that he has for this aren't actual solutions. It's actually going to make things actually worse, because now you're telling people to go and have sex with multiple people, which will lead to debt, like I was saying at the beginning of the show. It just, please, like, for the love of God, just pay attention to what he's actually saying here. And then I responded to that, and I actually said, wrong. You, quote, help men get into paying thousands in child support, in turn setting them down a path of debt. Why? Because you don't want men to get married and just have sex with every woman that they see. That's a trash perspective, and you know it. That's what I said. Then his minions come over and say, are you slow? What are you saying out loud? You're the type of dude that he's talking about weak. And then I said in response to that, so I'm weak if I don't F 5 women at once. Be my wife. I'm gay if I eat food. I'm poor if I don't pay Andrew Tate $50 a month for Hustlers University. Did I miss anything else? You are the pathetic man. If you would ever do something like this in real life, if I would even call somebody like that a man, douchebag is the term I would use, and that's being nice. So, of course, there's no response to that very thing, because it's a true statement. It's a true statement, and everybody knows it. When somebody acts like this in real life, we call them a douchebag, and that's the best term that we can possibly come up with these kinds of people, because it's not the right view. It's not the right view that you're supposed to have. It's not the right flourishing view that we've always known for society. It's to actually grow up with a family. It's to actually have a wife, to stick with that one wife, to have a connection with your children, because if you have 30 children, you're not going to have a connection with those children that you're having. It just doesn't, none of it makes any sense. It's a backwards view. It's an upside down view, and people need to start realizing this, and they need to start realizing this quickly. So that brings us into another thing that people need to realize, and that's Joe Biden and his constant rambling, because of the fact that it started with rambling, like, oh yeah, it's just rambling. It's actual rambling at this point. Watch this.
Ambrose Finnegan, they called him Uncle Bozy. He was shot down. He was in the Army Air Corps before there was an Air Force. He flew single-engine planes, reconnaissance flights over New Guinea. He had volunteered because someone couldn't make it. He got shot down in an area where there were a lot of cannibals in New Guinea at the time. They never recovered his body, but the government went back when I went down there, and they checked and found some parts of the plane and the like. And what I was thinking about when I was standing there was when Trump refused to go up to...
He says, from this rambling, he just goes and he tries to turn it into another thing entirely. The other thing entirely that he's trying to make it into is, Trump supposedly said this. It's actually so fabricated. It's based on a lie that's not credible whatsoever. So he likes to just take this moment, and then he's like, nope, that's actually this. It's not actually that. It's a movie is what he's talking about. The movie is actually you getting off of the plane, getting eaten by a cannibal, and nobody can find your body. That's the movie that he's referring to, and then he thinks that's his real life. It's not real life. It's pretty sad that he thinks that this is real life, and he thinks his uncle was actually eaten by people. It's just rambling at this point. Now, what is also incoherent is that the NPR has actually gotten a new CEO, and we talked about this on Monday's episode, that NPR, the new CEO, does not actually support the First Amendment, and it's very, very sad. Watch this.
The number one challenge here that we see is, of course, the First Amendment in the United States is a fairly robust protection of rights, and that is a protection of rights both for platforms, which I actually think is very important, that platforms have those rights to be able to regulate what kind of content they want on their sites. But it also means that it is a little bit tricky to really address some of the real challenges of where does bad information come from, and sort of the influence peddlers who have made a real market economy around it.
So they're saying, oh, there's a challenge around the First Amendment. So there's no challenge around the First Amendment. The First Amendment is there to protect people and to actually make sure that people can talk about the government in whichever way they seem fitting. So it's not about yes, it is about private companies, but it's also more about the people and their ability to openly talk about the government of the United States, no matter which political spectrum that they fall on, the right or the left. That's what it is there for. It's the actual willingness to let people say their mind when it comes to government officials and the way that things are run in our country. So that brings us into yet another thing, saying your mind. So there's a kid that actually got suspended from his high school for saying, quote unquote, illegal alien to represent someone who is here illegally. It's just a sad thing. So this was actually exposed by Libs of TikTok. He was suspended 3 days after using the term illegal alien in an English assignment because it's, quote, offensive and disrespectful. Now his record can be damaged. So it just doesn't make much sense here. And this was the original reporting by Libs of TikTok, but I have since heard that he was actually asking the teacher a question where he used the term illegal alien to represent something that is illegal. So he's like, do you think that it is illegal, like an illegal alien, or do you mean it in the aspect of aliens from outer space? That's what he actually asked. And then some other kid said that he was going to fight this kid. That's the story that I heard. And then the teacher actually got an administrator in the room, and then he was being investigated for like 30 minutes or whatever. They were giving their little interviews to see what actually happened, and then they found out that he actually said this. Then the superintendent actually suspended him. They reached out to the governor of this because I believe that this happened in North Carolina. And then, he's not allowed to go in any of his school clubs, track or cross country, even though he's involved in all of these things. So obviously, this is a very bad situation. They reached out to the governor or the senator, I guess. And then the senator said, well, I hope that we make the right decision. What is that? If you're going to make a statement on the situation, you might as well pick a side. Like, pick a side. Pick the right side, which is actually on the kid's side, because asking a question or using the term illegal alien to represent somebody that is illegal is perfectly just. It's perfectly reasonable because of the fact that it's true. It's true speech, and that's exactly what they want to ban. That's the most sad and pathetic thing about this very thing. So moving on to the next article, we actually have Democrats are trying to actually get Trump, and they actually have to remember that Bill Clinton did the same thing that they're trying to force on Trump. So Bill Clinton actually paid off other people just like what Trump did, but they're using it against Trump. So during the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast on Tuesday, the ESPN host blasted the criminal prosecution of Trump, who's facing 34 charges and accused of falsifying business records to cover up an alleged affair with Daniels, reminding Democrats of former President Bill Clinton's Oval Office adolescence while president and married. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a disaster. You want Trump gone. Beat him. It is possible. It could be preserved that you're going after Trump using lawfare because you can't beat him. Because you know the issues don't favor you, Smith said. Nothing thinks like Iran, Ukraine, trouble at the border, and rising crime. Y'all remember Bill Clinton lying under oath? Remember that? No sexual relations, he added, pointing out other Democrats like former Democratic Vice President nominee John Edwards, who had to illicit affair with a campaign aide. The host asked if Democrats were really planning to push this where a state like New York has a former president in the courtroom because he paid $130,000 in hush money to keep a porn star's mouth shut about the fact that they got loose with each other because he didn't want that to taint his campaign. Smith then talked about the sexual encounter Clinton had with a former White House intern, Monica Lewinsky, during his presidency and slammed the trial as much ado about nothing. So of course, Stephen A. Avery is just saying the quiet part out loud for a lot of people. It's because of the fact that Bill Clinton actually had sexual relations with AIDS, and then people are just ignoring that simple fact here for some strange reason. They would rather just ignore the facts, ignore the reality of the situation here, and that's because of the fact that, I mean, that is because Democrats do everything and more that they pin on Trump, and then they just say, well, because of the fact that it's just him, we need to just get Trump. Since 2016, or I would say even when Trump first was running, so 2015 around there, they always wanted to just get Trump. That was a target that they wanted to target. They were not taking any other person. It was just that target that they were focusing on, and that's it. So as soon as that happened, they started attacking him. Even before he was president, they loved him. He was looked at as a rich person. He was looked at as, you want to be Trump when you're older. That's how he was looked at. But then as soon as he ran for president, everything changed. It's sad. So we actually have something else from Libs of TikTok. Not to jump back and forth in topics over here, but I don't have a transition for this. We actually have something that was shown to an elementary school student. Or I would say students in general, because this is pretty disgusting. So if you look at this, Libs of TikTok posted this very thing. It kind of looks like a Sesame Street type of thing, but then you'll realize what's happening about halfway, you should know.
Hi, I'm Gulliver, and this is Emmett.
Hey!
Oh, hi. I'm Barry.
Oh, hey!
We are so excited you're here. We could use another dog.
Oh.
Oh, nice collar.
Oh, thank you. I like it.
So, what do you want to do first? Find a chew toy? Oh, chase our tail? Oh, I know. Let's sniff.
No, actually, I like to play with yarn. Yeah, it's
What?
fun. Yeah. Or I like to clean my paws like this. And you clean your face too.
okay.
Yeah. Or we could practice purring like this.
Ring.
Yeah. And we could try to meow.
Okay, so right away, I mean, this is about 49 seconds, and you already know what this is getting in. It's actually pretending, like the dog is actually pretending as if the dog is a cat. And obviously, this being shown to elementary school students, this is going to confuse them. Like, why is the dog acting like a cat? And then it goes on to say, oh, well, why are you judging him? He can do whatever he wants and stuff like that. And then they start actually, hammering this Oliver just because of the fact that he's asking questions. You're not even supposed to ask questions. You're supposed to act like it's perfectly normal for a dog to act like a cat, and it's perfectly normal for a man to act like a girl. It's perfectly normal for a girl to act like a man. It just doesn't make any sense here. Obviously, what's right is what's wrong at the same exact time. So I just don't understand this. So what we saw today, or what we saw yesterday, was Iran actually getting bombed by Israel. So this wasn't really in the list of things that I was going to talk about because of the fact that this just recently happened right now. And it's so funny that this next article had something to do with this, but we might as well talk about the Iran situation now. So Iran actually got bombed by Israel, and this was actually Israel's retaliation for what they did to them. So obviously at the same exact time, we would see a lot of these, you would see, okay, I'm just trying to find some footage here. So I did post a couple of videos and a couple of photos of exactly the situation we were currently seeing in Iran. And these reports are coming out of Iraq and Iran. And these were deserved things. So you can actually see last week, Iran launched an attack on Israel, which resulted in a 7-year-old girl being killed. And I love how the left always talks about, oh, well, you need to actually realize that how many kids are actually being killed overseas, and it's about the kids, it's about this, and it's about that, and it's about this. But then they won't realize what Iran is doing back to Israel is causing children to be harmed. So it's like they'll play one hand, but then they don't want to play the other hand. So we can see this video right here. It's just of the bombs going in. It's very, very cloudy. so you can't really see it all that good. So it's not really causing that much devastation, at least in the video aspect of it. But then we do have some more videos that we can actually see, footage of air defense activity over Isfahan in Iran. So you can actually see it just in the air. So it's not really touching base. Yeah, so that's developing now. We will obviously see more things in the morning. But it's so funny that Iran actually closed its nuclear facilities beforehand. It actually closed it yesterday morning because of the fact that they knew something was going to happen today. So they closed all their military bases because they knew that something was going to happen, and then this ended up happening. So they got some sort of warning behind the scenes, just like how Iran gave America some warnings to actually say, okay, we're going to send over some slow rockets over there. And then 99% of the rockets that Iran actually sent Israel's way, it actually got blown up in the air. So it didn't really touch base. So that's the only good thing that really comes out of this thing. A lot of people are saying, well, we don't need more war. We don't need more war. But no war has never solved any problem. It's the sad reality of the fact here. I'm not warmongering. I'm not saying that we need war to actually necessarily prove our point. What I am saying is that when somebody punches you in the face and you block their punch, that's not a victory. You need to make sure that the bully knows not to mess with you again. That's what is actually that's actually going to be resulted in this exchange that Israel is having with Iran now. And more importantly, all of the proxies like Hamas and stuff like that. That's why Israel needs to just finish off Hamas and all of the terrorists that are in that state, and then they need to actually make sure that Hamas does not start back up, and then they need to deal with the Yemen because rockets were sent from Yemen, and they are just going to need to make sure that they're not going to be targeted in the future. That's the most important thing. So what we have also seen is a lot of people being stupid about the situation too. So Google protesters actually locked themselves into the New York, California offices, New York and California offices, and they were actually trying to protest the $1.2 billion Israel contract with Google. So they thought that they were actually going to do something with this, but all that actually took place was them getting arrested and fired. 28 people were actually fired because of this very thing. They locked themselves in the offices to prove a point. They were in the 10th floor commons, and they refused to leave until Google stops powering the genocide in Gaza. That's what No Tech for the Apartheid said on Twitter. It just doesn't make any sense. Nothing really makes sense that the left does, if you can notice that. Google fired the worker, and it's not clear what actions the company will take after the mass revolt inside of its own walls. The image from the Twitch live stream confirmed that they took over the CEO's office, a custom-made Golden State Warriors basketball jersey, and the CEO's name is seen hanging on the wall in the background. And then they just sit there right in his office, and then they obviously get escorted out and stuff like that. The security in these CEO buildings and these office buildings need to be more sealed because of the fact that this should just not happen whatsoever. The second that somebody would ever come into my office and try to protest what I'm doing, they're going to get the heck out of there. You cannot protest inside of my office. No, thank you. So that leaves us to our last story, which is actually one of the most important stories that we're going to be talking about. So Laken Riley, everybody knows her name. It's the person that was killed and murdered because of an illegal immigrant. That's because of Joe Biden and his policies on the southern border. A lot of people are saying, well, what's happening isn't really necessarily Joe Biden's fault. Yes, it is, because he's not doing anything about it. So Laken Riley's murderer was actually just released today because of the fact that there was no detention space available to hold this murderer, hold this illegal immigrant. Wow, because we can't say that, we're going to say it. Illegal immigrant was let go because of there being no space. So again, if there's no space, and the Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas, which I don't even know how to say his name, which was actually supposed to be used in limited cases, this very thing, and only when there is an urgent humanitarian need or a significant benefit to the public. But he chose to release this illegal immigrant nonetheless. And let's see if he kills anybody else, because if he does, then that will be grounds for the Mayorkas suspension and Mayorkas impeachment to go on again. Obviously, it started in the House, it passed the House, it went to the Senate, and they refused to actually look at it, even though they had a lot of evidence to prove why Mayorkas actually should be impeached. But they chose to ignore all of that info in lieu of actually just pushing their own political agenda. Now they opened up a can of worms, and if there is ever an impeachment in the future, they can just reject the impeachment on its face without looking at any facts first. It's disgusting. It's a disgusting precedent that they set, and even Chuck Schumer agrees with that. And Chuck Schumer is on the opposite side here. So, with that being said, that's going to do it for this episode of the Demetrius Araujo Show. If you did like this episode and you do want to see more, I do post new episodes of this show every single Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And if you do want to follow me on X, my username is Araujo Demetrius, because I do post updates as soon as things happen right over there. As you can tell, a lot of people look at things on Twitter. There's a lot of eyeballs on Twitter. So if you are on Twitter, follow me over there, Araujo Demetrius. Or you can follow Araujo Studios at Araujo Studios. Very, very easy to remember. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for I can't talk today either. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for listening, and I hope they have a great rest of your day. Bye.